Hello, travelers. Hello, dreamers. Forgot to close the door. I really like wasting your time here on YouTube. I hope you love it. I was thinking of, I took some notes and stuff. I wrote a little segment here on approaching literature and games like a scholar. And I thought, yeah, I'm gonna try and, drop the script and go live. But well, it's just too perfect as written. Perfect is probably not the word, but you know what I mean. I think I'll stick to reading. So enjoy and talk soon. So part of making a game involves doing research that goes beyond picking my favorite books and games. I was just checking if it's recording here. Choosing what I consider best about them, mixing it all into the next cocktail. Research is only one part of the endeavor of making a game, but gosh, how fun it is, truly speaking. To get the most juice out of that research, I have to learn to look at, read, and understand literature and games past my personal aesthetic biases. With a scholarly approach. I don't want to say this is great, but I want to ask, I resonate with this, and why, right? What does it mean to read text with a scholarly approach? I do research. This means I study this text, not merely read them. To study is to learn the ins and outs of a subject, to look at it from every available angle at a given time, from how it feels when first discovered, to how it resonates with the wider literary, historical, social, and spiritual landscape. Every creative work has a historical context and comes to light under pressures that reach beyond personal fancies and irrational desires. The world gives birth to everything. We're part of that. But it's the world eventually who does the job, right? So to appreciate each of its parts fully, one has the opportunity to look around and beyond one's preconceptions. A scholar experiences freedom through knowledge. Knowledge cannot be self-centered. One has to learn the ways of others, their reasoning, and their hopes. A book may reveal its meaning only later, once many other books have been digested. A game may become enjoyable, or at least begin to make sense, only after other games have revealed what makes it specific. A scholar cannot afford to judge a field of study as a wild beast would. Too many things are interconnected to risk missing a key link. Building a game, building a map of design. One book after another, one game after another, feeding off previous discoveries, I build a map of the schools of design. For example, Modiphius' 2D 20 system was polished and modified to fit without getting in the way of the nobility and refinement of Dune's setting. By comparison, Numenera is designed with making you feel like a badass, giving you the tools to pry open the mysteries of its setting with bravado. Or take how exalted good intentions become entangled in power play and endless variations of the same, compared with Blades in the Dark's synthesis and trust in the foundations and automation of its system. I want to understand what each designer was looking for, what problem they were confronted with, and the reasoning behind the answers they found. So I'm not looking to read only games that I would play, for instance, live. I'm going live, non-scripted. I approach I have a reading list of games that are famous, that are successful for reasons that go beyond me wanting to play them or not. I'm now designing on the cost of peace, and with that in mind, I try to read everything that I think is made strong, conscious choices, and I want to understand those conscious choices behind. That's why I read, of course. I read all sorts of games. So cross-referencing information. I cross-reference information. When I read literature, for instance, The Mind in the Cave by David Lewis Williams. This book here. Yeah, The Mind in the Cave, really recommend it. A no-brainer, really, even a life changer possibly. Really recommend reading that. So back there, The Mind in the Cave by David Lewis Williams tells me about the psychological journey of prehistoric humanity. Yeah, that's what the book is about. This frames my reading of The Language of the Goddess by Maria Gimbutas, which presents a plethora of prehistoric artifacts. This big boy. I don't know if we can see. Yeah. There we go. Maya Gimbutas, The Language of the Goddess, also recommended. Or if you like this type of books. Oh, I opened at the wrong page. So yeah, those two books are complementary, right? One informs the other, and you cannot just read one and go. You're free to do that, but you would miss on the content and the meaning of each of them, if you took them separately. So Lewis Williams' observation on the history of human consciousness casts new light on a vase or a bone knife from the Magdalenian period. What one book teaches me may cast a new light upon another, or send me back to something I thought I had already understood. And this is happening all over the place. I'm reading multiple books concurrently. I won't say that, for example, The Secret of the Veda by Sri Aurobindo casts new lights on Uncovering Dinosaur Behavior by David Hone. But, for instance, The Myth of the Eternal Return by Mircea Eliade got me into, a certain frame of mind, so I could approach Gilgamesh in another way. Then I read Gilgamesh, and then I read the myth, the flood myth, and Atrahasis, different. So that's what I'm talking about when I suggest reading literature and game design like a scholar, like a scholar would. So understanding goals and tools. I try to understand the common goals and tools of game design and world building. Rune quests, for instance, yeah, we have rune quests. It's great. I don't think I'll ever GM that, but I wish maybe I will find a time one day, at least when Mon is out and gives me a break. But I don't think he will ever give me a break. So many supplements are in my mind already. But Rune Quest, this is the latest edition, a treasure in its own right. Open at the right page here. Magic, yeah. For instance, the what is it? Basic Universal Engine, or what is it? They're running this with. This was made with Cthulhu. Is it Cthulhu who was the game mechanics of Cthulhu was taken out of the first Rune Quest system. So here, Rune Quest wants you to immerse yourself in a fantasy world of jaw-dropping realism, while ensuring that your character feels grounded in that reality, yet remains ambitious enough to transcend themselves. So by comparison, Pendragon, latest edition, there's a Game Master Handbook. Pendragon battles. The battle system in Pendragon is sexy. I really love it. Although it's an inspiration. I mean, it's beautiful in itself. I don't plan on using similar systems, similar mechanics for Mon. Still, that allows me to see where I sit, to see why I want to make certain decisions. I want to avoid certain forms of design, and as I read that and I compare it with other game systems, I see why they designed battles in that way. You know, why they designed the character traits. You know, like indulgence and whatever. You know, like you know how a knight is meant to think and has all these binaries, extremes. And it's yeah, this is incredible. Here I was inspired the way by the knight's traits to design drive and road for Mon, the cost of peace. So Pendragon invites you to lose yourself and your modern way of thinking, to return to noble ideals that might free one's soul or persona from the chains of science and rationalism. It gives you the tools to step inside the self-actuating engine of the mind and heart of a true knight. In simple words, they found a very efficient system. It's playable, and it helps you role play, which is what you want. You know, when you, of course, when you design a game system, you want something that is fun. It's playable, so you know, it runs. It's fluid. It's nice to roll the dice because there are stakes behind it, and it fits the setting, it fits the philosophy of the game, it fits the goal of the game, everything. So Greg Stafford, the original creator of Pendragon, is a monster. Again, this is in the context of, you know, having certain goals in mind. You want to have such game experience at hand, at the table, ready to play, and you design, with that in mind, you design a game, a formulae that fits that, and that helps that. What do we have next? Skyrealms of Jorun. Yeah. If you want to explore its alien world and learn its, it wants you to explore its alien world and learn its languages and customs, not to the extent that Empire of the Petal Throne does, yeah. Yet it sometimes gets it in its own way by trying to build a system that supports realism. Skyrealms of Jorun has really. I've never played it. I'm nearly done reading it. I'm reading too many things at once so I've been reading that for a while. You know, it's really a world that is absolutely immersive. Here, it's a fantastic illustration that really frames the setting perfectly, which is the relationship between alien cultures that really have nothing to do with each other. Well, in that instance, the wolfman, or whatever, the dogman, is half human. It's a mutant created by some kind of crazy engineer. The world is compelling to, like, it's full of historical facts. There's a chronology. You have all sorts of environments and weird creatures, and you can collect their raw materials and stuff. But then they end up with a game system. It's old school, right? We're talking 1992 here, which is, I think this is the third edition, I believe, second or third edition. And they end up with game mechanics that are just, to my taste, very hard to memorize, obnoxious to play, very hard to read. The book is impossible to navigate. But in the middle of it, you have illustrations like this, and you have text, the descriptions of the races and stuff. It's very, very, it's compelling. It's very, very immersive. So here we have, I feel, by comparing that with more modern, possibly more modern designs, there's a divide between game setting and game mechanic. And that's why I'm trying to understand what I'm trying to understand. What are the links? What makes a good correspondence, a good connection between setting and game mechanics, right? So I'm more and more. I'm learning to be aware of those things. And when I approach Mon's system, Mon's setting, how much information do I want to give the players, the GM? How do I want this thing, like I don't know, how do I want devotion or going epic to function? How much time do I want that to take within the round, of combat or whatever? How do I find the best compromise? Tomb of Lime mentioned that. Is it Tomb of Lime? Yeah, I'm sorry, man. If I forgot to, yeah. There is. I link his channel in the description. He said that elegance is an amazing. Tomb of Lime is an amazing scholar, I think in his own right, and a theoretician of role playing. And he says that the elegance of a game is the fraction of the granularity of its system by its divided by its complexity. So how much possibilities you are offering for the players, for the GM, how much granularity you offer. But at what cost? What's the complexity behind that? How many choices can you make available while rolling only a single d6, or like 12 d6s? Is this percentage? Is this roll above, roll below? All those things. And how do you manage to? So elegance is that granularity by complexity. Mon sits in the middle at this point in development. I think we've achieved a decent amount of granularity for a decently low level of complexity. Complexity isn't a bad thing in its own right, in itself. Certain types of players enjoy. We have that. Is it the left brain or right brain? We have that. We gamers, like we like systems, yeah. But until when, like at some point it's storytelling experience, and we want to move on with the story. So it doesn't matter if we have maybe 2 or 1,000 choices. Eventually, the story with 1, 2, or 1,000 choices will move forward, and that's what we are looking for. So elegance is a tricky thing to establish, a tricky quality of a game, I suppose. So yeah, I'm learning to establish my frame of work, and every system and subsystem that comes, I try to measure and weigh. So I'm conscious of the cognitive load behind and those things. So not every game make the same decisions. They some are so not elegant. So their complexity is above the granularity. The cost is too much for the amount of granularity. So the multiple of choices that you gain. And some are less elegant also because they have too much choice. They want to say too much with too little tools. That's what I see sometimes in quote unquote rules light games or OSR games. Though OSR is well disciplined and tend to restrict quite a lot. It's the goal of the game, generally speaking. Not so much the setting, but. So sometimes, you want to tell other stories, and the system is completely oblivious of those options and doesn't offer you the complexity to deal with those things. So then we are back at the roots of role-playing game. We just improvise. We just made the GM just makes a quick decision on the fly, and we roll with it. But then that we miss something. We miss the gamey aspect of things sometimes. I think a good balance. I think for me, we want to have. I'm not gonna delve any longer on that. I think you understand the point. So yeah, exactly. Before judging whether those choices work, I want to understand what the game was trying to achieve. That's really important. And understanding that about other games, where they sit compared to each other, helps tremendously, obviously, to frame my own work. Why study literature and game design like a scholar instead of simply reading what I like and dropping what I dislike? So in the process, I want to learn about myself, because I do that. I'm a game designer. Okay. I was acting in theater. I was doing music. I was painting. I was doing illustration. I tried a couple of things. In the past, and it's mostly you do things. You use a tool. The tool tells you as much as about the material you're trying to fashion, sculpt or whatever. As much as it tells about you. You in that situation, you're trying to achieve something. So creativity tells you as much about the world as it tells about you, about yourself, the creator, right? So why do I prefer certain things over others? I want to love consciously, which is learning about myself. I want to love consciously with an awareness of the time and place in which I live. I want to learn how to live and to try to make sense of life. Yeah, that's basically, I don't know, the goal of a human being, picking whatever role, of profession, career you want. You want that to make sense for yourself. So you've got to understand, what fits, what doesn't, and why. And there isn't a real good, wrong, or right answer. We all on our personal quests. So as I design a game and its setting, I want to know why I choose to include or exclude certain elements of design and aspects of a setting, how narrow or broad they should be, and why. So I want to situate myself within the literary world and understand my place within the game industry. My identity is defined by the negative space around me, by everything that is supposedly not me. To ignore that seems to me like social and spiritual suicide. Because there is so much more about knowing oneself in situ than just picking some kind of identity, wearing that mask and walk down the street, right? Instead of looking through the mirrors, through the vitrines, through the facades, looking at others, how they walk and all of that, and feel broader, feel closer, less some kind of me, but more like being the world. So when designing a world setting, when world building for a role-playing game, I think that quality as a person is primordial, and for survival, for going through stuff, you always relativize. And it's not you can't really, you can imagine yourself in someone else's shoes, you can't really put yourself in there, but there is a way to become wider, and as a world builder for role playing game, that's essential. That's I think that can only help make a world and a game setting more alive, more true, more real, more logical, more compelling, immersive. So my identity is defined by the negative space around me. I have questions as a game master, for instance, things that challenge me when I run games. Not every game gives me the same tools with which to answer them. I have to understand whether the designers were looking for and why, what questions they had, and the logic behind their answers. I cannot allow myself to discredit a design choice without understanding why it was made. I mentioned that quite kind of already. A human being made that decision, and I can learn to become my own master by understanding the decision-making processes of others. Why choose this path? Because I'm not only making a game, I'm not only making a game or inventing an imaginary world, no. Not only that, I'm making a tool, right? I'm making an instrument for the imagination. That's well, a tool, an instrument for the imagination, yeah. So the parable of the luthier, right? I think this is the idea that sprung this this video. The idea for this video. I wanted to communicate the fact that as a game designer, I approached that the perspective of a musical instrument maker, a luthier, and that I want to open up as much as possible the setting and the game engine and the mechanics into so it becomes an open space, a sandbox, a playable sandbox for people of all walks of life, for people who have various play styles, different play styles, who can recognize for them an opportunity, basically make the game accessible, right? Beginner, veteran. I have imagination. I had no imagination. I need a crutch here. I'm okay on my own. You know, all sorts of player game masters. So to design a game like that, I have to understand the game as a musical instrument. A tabletop role-playing game is an instrument for the imagination, just as a guitar is an instrument for the ear. It bridges your mind with the world of resonance around you and with the minds of others through the pathways of the body and the musical instrument. Wow. A luthier does not know what kind of music a musician will play on the instrument they are making. The luthier can determine its tonal range, resonance, ergonomics, and responsiveness, all the qualities that make a so-called good instrument. Whether it will render a slow ballad or a fast rock song is up to the musician, not the luthier. Likewise, a universal game mechanic is not supposed to impose a definite form of roleplay. I mean, if my intent was to design a universal game mechanic, I don't think... Mon is quite... as I see it coming together, it's gonna make for quite a universal game mechanic. But not, or it can be tweaked into other games, other genres. But if the goal was to create a universal game mechanic, anyway, a universal game mechanic is not supposed to impose a definite form of roleplay, restrict how a GM frames scenarios, or discourage them from confronting certain topics. That depends on what you want to do with your game. Huh? If you want to do like, I don't know, what's a mothership, like, you know, it's restrictive, it's confined, but it's also fits because voila, it's the whole concept of the game is centered around that, you know, the inevitability of confronting your own death in catastrophic, horrible circumstances. But not every so those, as long as it's a conscious decision, you know. As long as a game doesn't sort of like hide that fact, as it's clear that it wants you to play a certain genre, it wants you to play under a certain duration within a certain scope, and it is explained and transparently explained, that's fine. But with the example of a universal game mechanic here. So design, you cannot sort of like have a preconception, just like the luthier is building their instrument. He cannot say, well, this violin is made only for classical music, you know, because that's what my violins were made for in the first place, you know. So design inevitably frames So I'm aware, when I wrote that, I'm aware that a design inevitably frames, even the universal game engine, will inevitably frame the uses that can be made of it. But a user manual should not intentionally prevent the user from appropriating that design in their own way. We're talking role-playing games here, and not the user manual of a car. I mean, there is one safe way to drive a car, and it's forward and with eyes open and hands on the steering wheel, right? And I guess everyone is aware of that. So, but the role-playing game is a bit different than that. But still, we're presenting user manuals, right? It's a core rule book, right? It's a player's handbook, right? Those are manuals. They are not instructing you as to what is not allowed to do within the confine of your own sessions at your own table in your own living room. You can play in your toilets if you want to. It's nothing prevents you from doing that. Even if they write it on, even if it's in the list of guidance and things like that. Yeah. So. What is there next? Some people buy a katana. Another example. Some people buy a katana to practice martial arts. Others hang it on the wall. There are countless ways to kill and love others, with a spoon or otherwise. Well said, maybe. What matters to me is that sorry. I was completely distracted. Man. I was in the flow. I lost my train of thought. Katana, spoons, loving, killing. What matters to me is that the user manual, guidance and stuff, explained the space opened by the design without forcing a single meaning upon the person using it. A single meaning, a single meaning. You can propose ways to make use the system, but that I think a good designer, good writer will tell you, like you write a novel, or you write a historical book, whatever. You don't want to tell people the meaning of it. The meaning is for them, the meaning is, that's what you sell, basically. It's for them the opportunity to make their own story of it, You report what you see as a novelist, you report what you hear as a historian, and or journalist or whatnot, and it's for the people to make their own story, and that's the power of it. The power is not imposing meaning, it's to open meaning, I believe. So I will do my best to avoid that pit born of fear, because yes, it is fear. Control is, control freaks are fearful of not being in control, right? Of chaos. That reminds me that I wanted to do a video about my biggest fear in as a game designer and in life, and it is chaos. It's basically what I think has made me stumble more than once. It's the fear of chaos, more than chaos itself, because chaos, there is no avoiding it, quote unquote chaos. Unpredictability, being part of a bigger world than your own little, self-centered reality. Associate, collaborate. Help, being helped, accepting help, advices, all these things, and the fear of chaos is destructive. And to avoid self-destruction, by you try and destruct others. Of course, you just deflect that onto others. So I'll do my best to avoid that. Yeah, I will really try to give you a Monde Cost of Peace that is polished and enough and designed in a way that it will be born out of love. I promise you that. Mon as an open field. But we're getting into it. The same principle applies to open-ended sandbox-style settings. A setting. So we had like game systems and user manuals. Now we're going into world building and settings. A setting makes a spectrum of subjects available to players. It does not tell us whether it is possible, impossible, right, or wrong to explore them. The goal of Mon's setting is to provide an open field of experimentation through which players may touch upon the many themes and aspects of a living being's experience. This is why Mon contains so many cultures and social structures, utterly matriarchal societies, patriarchal hereditary systems, republics, anarchies, tyrannies, tribalism, nihilism, and philosophies, not only social structures, but also philosophies. Nihilism, materialism, progressivism, many others. It is not my place as a designer to establish which of these is the right answer or the best way to achieve and maintain world peace. For that is the proposition of the game, to engage with the possibility of world peace within the genre of, as I call it, mythic space fantasy, right? Engage with the possibility of world peace in that context. It is not a modern, cop in cyberpunk, whatever. It's not sci-fi proper. It's not fantasy proper. It is not prehistorical. It's not historical. It's mythic space fantasy. And I want people to engage with the possibility of world peace there. And I'm not going to tell them this is the way to do it, because if I knew, you'd be all dead, right? To strengthen this freedom of thought and investigation, and to highlight the contradictions within any given culture, each ancestry is itself developed as a spectrum, with its fanatics, moderates, outlaws, rebels, innovators, traditionalists. The world of the game is meant to be a canvas upon which the players and GM are free to tell all kinds of stories. What they end up creating is not for the designer to decide. Perhaps they want to tell stories of tolerance and compassion. Perhaps they want to stand beside a conflicted group about to shatter from within and inflict harm upon others. The important thing is I'm trying to understand when designing an open setting like this is the need for contrast. Only through contrast can an identity or concept become a three-dimensional volume instead of a cliché. Through contradiction and contrast, forms rises out of flat shapes. As a designer making an open world, I have decided to provide as much variety as a setting can reasonably contain, without emphasizing who or what represents the greatest threat to world peace. In Mon, no one is innocent. No one is innocent. No one is guilty. Everyone plays their part. Every role has meaning beneath the stars. I came up with an idea recently inspired from the new edition of the parallel edition of Warhammer. It's not Warhammer Fantasy, it's Warhammer Old World. They have the Grim Portent. Inspired me to do something of the like. And I'm already conflicted about it, because how can I offer some kind of portent? So all players they have a vision of something at the start of a campaign, like a foreboding, something, foreshadowing the possible coming apocalypse, and they are brought together to possibly do something about it. But how can I design that without telling them who's going to be responsible? They are the bad guys. Maybe they wanted to do well. They're led astray. Maybe they're manipulated. You're already entering that kind of dialectic where you establish the values of good and bad, and that type of thinking. The nature of the world isn't thinking in those terms, and designing a setting that forces a philosophy of political view or whatever, it's our solution, a ready-made solution. Or those are the bad guys, those are the good guys, there is cruelty. There are cruel people. There are cruel creatures, possibly not, but harmful behaviors. There are clashes. but everyone has their own their own reason, right? They all live in their own ecosystems, and those links, those possibly they are invisible links, you know. Death, humanity has struggled to find the meaning of death for since the beginning of times, and if the meaning was known and ready made, maybe life wouldn't make much more sense anymore. Who knows? I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. You tell me. So that was it, yeah, for the way I want to present. It's very hard. I find it difficult at that point to let go, because voilà, I'm doing this dev diary on that very topic for a reason. It's because I'm working on it, you know, and it's not figured out. This is what I'm working on. And to offer a setting that really truly is sort of like was something agnostic, you know, that really doesn't tell you, okay, these are the bad guys, these are the good guys. And I made, on top of that, I'm trying to make all major factions playable. So I want to present them as, you know, as entertaining to play as possible. Each of them must be designed in a way that they are appealing. At the same time, there is contrast. That's what I mentioned. I want each of those playable ancestries and species and whatnot to have contrast within them. So there's room for role play. There's room for interaction between players, interaction with the world, and for the game master to be creative, and each game master to read it their own way. So yeah, as a game master myself, but because I game master quite a bit, I know that if I was given a tool like the one I'm trying to design, I would be blessed. I would feel blessed. So I'll do my best to provide just that. Conclusion. Here we are. My goal is to design and produce a tool for role-playing storytelling, much as a luthier makes a musical instrument. Not to prescribe a single melody, but to enable as many kinds of music as the instrument and its medium can sustain. We shall see how among the masterpiece emerges at the end. Here before you, I have laid down my hopes, my goal, and my method. Alpha playtesting will begin next month. We have 4 years. I plan 4 years publication in 2030 at best. Well, it could be 2029 if we'll see. We have 4 years in which to observe this project grow and develop. How my scholarly studies and research will inform the final product, I'm curious to discover, just as I hope you are. So that is us. Thank you for listening. I ramble. I improvised a bit around. So that was a bit of reading, a bit of improv. I hope you still found the thing appreciable, and you feel fed and inspired. I hope those ideas resonate with you. I'm gonna go back to work now, and I'll see you around. Put a thumbs up, subscribe, join the Discord, all that good stuff. If you're really you think you really want to help, you can join the closed alpha playtest now, NDA and all of that in place, and so that would be a really hardcore type playtest, going in really under the bonnet, under the hood of the engine, and hammer the thing to death until it resurrects and is ready for beta in September 27. Regardless, I hope you're having a good day, you're passionate about whatever you're doing, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.